Mane, founder and CTO of Bookmatic Private Limited. We basically have a first of its kind, financial. We are into fintech, so it's a online cloud system which automates bookkeeping for small and micro businesses. So a bit about me. I happen to be the first totally blind engineer, software engineer and IT professional in India in 2003, and that time there were only 3 in Asia. So that's how I started. And I mean, this is an apt discussion. I have always believed in, a double impact system wherein you impact lives of people in such a way that they in turn pass that impact to their, people. So I've been always working for, the digitally underserved community. I've been a consultant to Intel and Sun Microsystems, being a tech speaker, and also advisor to many government bodies in India. Of course, I was an advisor to the Malaysian government when they were migrating their technology to the open source infrastructure, and I was the one who apparently developed, or rather was one of the architects of developing a free screen reading software for visually disabled community, so just to generate education and employment. And then of course got into the fintech industry where I've been working now for last about 15 years. Thank you.
For example, when a company is starting up, that time growth is very important, because growth is the only thing that can demonstrate proof of concept for the business. That can also demonstrate that you have a product market fit, which is very important. That's the only way that a company can establish that in the eyes of the customers, or in the eyes of the shareholders, or in the eyes of the market. So in the beginning, yes, growth is very important, at the expense of profitability maybe. But as a company matures and as a company starts scaling up, a lot of costs start increasing. There's a lot of scalability, economies of scale setting, the network effect scales in. And that is the time when a company has to walk this balance very, very carefully between profitability and growth. And it could mean different things in different life cycles of the business. It could also be in certain markets, if the capital market is looking at an industry from a different prism, then the whole strategy of the company is a little different. So it really depends on the situation, it depends on the kind of stage that you're in business, what is more important for you. You can trade off this at that time, but ultimately profitability is indeed important. It is important for your survival. But in the beginning period of your journey of your company, different aspects come into play. For example, when investors look at your business, they don't look at your business what it is today, but they look at your business what it will be tomorrow after 5 years or 10 years through a discounted cash flow process. So they look at it from a totally different prism. And they want to give you money because they know that growing a business means a lot of money. So they are willing to give you that money so that you become a bigger company. So it really has a different kind of connotations, and it's also very important to have a hand on the dial. You know what's important and how one walks this whole balance. And it means different things in different industries. For example, in healthcare, the value statement of a company is totally different, because you're talking about humanity, you're talking about life, servicing life, but it could be totally different in an entertainment industry, where the mindset is totally different. So I'm going to, with these thoughts, I'm going to open this discussion for all our guests.
There's hardly anything left for me to speak, and it's very, I think it will be very liberal of Samir and the rest of the panel that I am getting to speak. When we talk about values and profitability, we already talked about why. Of course, I would like to say that the why is the most important factor, as Samir set the right tone, But then even the means for that why also matter. Like I might have a good why, but stealing data, doing stuff which, of course, it's a relative term, but again, things might not be so ethical to do, and then at the end you say, okay, we are doing it for a right cause. But again, that's not good value. Just to, as a side note, because everyone is referring to Tata when we talk about values and all that stuff. Let me remind all my audience an advertisement which used to come for Tata Steel. You will realize what value really, what is all about. So there used to be an ad, I don't know how many of you remember, that did not come for a long time, but it did come on the televisions in the olden days. What happened was they would show a complete factory, people happy, working there, and then they would show all the managers having lunch with the last level, labor class, and then they will be doing a lot of social work. There is gym in the factory, there is all picnic going on and all. At the end, a caption used to come, "We also manufacture steel." That was the idea, Just because someone was talking about Tata, and I thought I would just give you the right analogy of what values count. So they were never looking at the steel, the impact, and as I in my introductory note I said that as an entrepreneur I always believed in impact. When I was in IIT that time also, it is all about impact. I've been quite critical about few projects which people used to do because the impact wasn't there. Now when we talk about why, eventually what you want, that is also important. If you ask me personally what I want, all the technologies I have worked on, non-profit as well as on profit-making basis, there's only one thing I wanted, and that was bringing joy to the people who use my technology. So for example, today we have my product is called Online Khata. What happens is, these small micro businesses who are kind of digitally underserved, we want to make it more inclusive for them. So nowadays everyone is going cashless. Now what happens is you have your bills and invoices and all, you go to an accountant. Now the accountant will do bookkeeping, the debit and credit style entries which hardly anyone except people from the accounting field will understand. And then after all those debits and credits and all those double entry systems, you get your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your GST reports and all, and then the returns filing and the input credit and all happens. I thought, okay, this is wasting the time of accountant, and it is also wasting the time of those small and micro businesses who really, are kind of using an elephant to lift a stone. These rules, these bookkeeping rules have been there since 500 years when Luca Pacioli actually made them. Now if they have not changed, after that so many things happened. Newton discovered gravity, and then we had, gramophones, we had radios, we now have space shuttles going. The rules of the accounting have not changed, which means someone will have to properly, compute those laws and do stuff in a way, because it's not, this might not be good for, medium and large scale businesses, but the small businesses who don't need payroll, who don't need HR, who don't need all those complications, all that they need is something to automate their bookkeeping and get the reports of, balance sheets and profit and loss and everything without they knowing accounting, or they have to, without going to an accountant. Now they can directly go to an auditor and file the returns with the ready-made reports. This is saving time, because time is something which once goes, money can come back, Maybe Adani will recover tomorrow. But if the time goes, then the time is lost. So we wanted to save time of people. We wanted to bring joy to their business. We wanted to bring, a feel of inclusiveness in the lives of those small shops. So that's how it happened. When I developed the first free screen reader, that was the whole thing. Like, I could become an IT professional in 2003. I was totally blind. But how many people were fortunate? Because there was a screen reading software available with a few restrictions. It would cost you 1 lakh rupees for one license. In those days you had to buy license copies. Now everything is on cloud, fortunately. Now I know a regular middle class person couldn't really afford it. So this was denial of opportunity. So creating opportunity was another why for me. And then when I started this Bookmatic Private Limited, as I said, the entire thing was to bring joy, to bring satisfaction to the people who are using my software. And let me tell you, this is especially for the budding entrepreneurs. Guys, people don't look at your product and people don't look at anything. The investors, now we have a foreign direct investment coming in our company for last 2 years. I'll tell you what, the investor looked at the founders first, their passion. They never look at the product. My wife is sitting there in the audience. We both are co-founders. The investor actually looked at us, the founders, Let me give you a simple epic example from the biggest epic in India called Mahabharata. So there were all the Pandavas, Yudhishthira was an elder brother to Arjun. And there were so many great people. Why do you think Krishna told Gita to only Arjun? Because jitna guru great hona chahiye, utna hi shishya bhi वैसे ही होना चाहिए जो वो input ले सके. So budding entrepreneur, because this is going to go live on, or rather this is going to be telecasted on TV channels, and there will be budding entrepreneurs who see this. Guys, value is such an important thing that the investor first looks at the founders, then the product, your passion. And let me tell you this, profitability has become such a relative term now that, even I don't know how much profit Flipkart makes, but then they are valued very high. Okay? And there are so many companies who are having good value to their business. They may not be making profit now, but then there are investors who keep on backing, who keep on investing, and I'm talking about especially the startups like us, like my startup, which is in the late, I won't say late seed stage. We are in pre-series right now. We would be going for series A by mid 2023. The thing is, even after that, I don't know whether I will be earning profits in terms of actual revenue. Many companies don't, but then their valuation is so high. Why? Because again, the why part has been well understood. It's the time that people have started to recognize your product. It's the time that people are starting to refer your product. Now, referrals are the biggest certificate to your value, because the referrals, the people who are referring your product to others, they are not getting anything out of it most of the time. Ideally, we would like to honor them, but then India is such a big country, I don't know who are referring my product. But that is value, right? Because people are seeing something in that. They are not even getting a single penny by referring your product to someone else, but they realize it. That, oh, this is something which is happening. The doctor was talking about the ATM thing. Now I'm very sure there will be a lot of referrals, mouth-to-mouth publicity. Why? Because it's bringing value, it's bringing joy, it's bringing satisfaction. So that is something, if you do, let me assure you, the profitability happens, and at the end of the day, maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 7 years down the line, the profitability in terms of money also comes, and till then, your investors are always there to back you, provided you have good value. So that's my modest thoughts, so I would pass on the mic. What happens is, because there's one another very major aspect as to, when you're talking the walk or walking the talk, and eventually you have to think about profitability. The challenge starts where you have a value, you have your why in mind clearly. At some point, maybe, I mean, this might not happen with every entrepreneur or with every company, you have to pivot. Now when you do the pivot, this is where you really have the challenge of seeing to it that, okay, I cannot, just do something totally different just because I see the money is lying there. At the same time, I cannot stick to a thing which actually sounds really good, but I see that eventually it's all about profitability, right? So when you have to be extremely careful when you pivot your business. The second thing, and this is something I'm saying very harsh and sorry for a lot of people who might feel this. We are talking about inculcating employee values and employee sharing values. At least in my 20 years of experience now, I've seen the IT industry. There is one way in which we can actually prove that monkeys were our ancestors, because the people are changing their jobs faster than monkeys jump across the branches of trees. So it's as you say, ideal gas never exists. So to the last level of employees, I'm not talking about the upper level management. The challenge here, as you rightly said, is to hire the right talent. But there is also a challenge, if you want to really set the boundaries right, that there is this very interesting share which says, "Jad to chandi mein chahe sone mein, aina jhoot bolta hi nahi." So that aina you will have to have, and you'll be very fortunate if you have that aina. And as he said, the eagle's eye versus the worm's eye. If you can identify people who can stay with you for a long time. And by the way, this is a vicious circle. The people who are in sync with your value are going to stay with you for a long time, and people who stay with you for a long time can actually assimilate your values. So that is the actual challenge, where you have to identify the right people and have the right synchronization or synergies person to person. This is absolutely person to person synergies, because the values come from the founder and then they percolate down. But after a certain level of downward percolation, I'll tell you very frankly, there is no more percolation, because people are here to do jobs. That's it. That's a harsh reality.
I think